In this video, we're going to identify vertices, foci, and asymptotes of a hyperbola from an equation. And I actually put two problems in this video. It says identify the asymptotes of the hyperbola with the equation x squared over 4 minus y squared over 49 equal 1. Thing to keep in mind is I have the x term first here. And then I wrote another equation where the y term was first. And the reason I did that is because if the x term is first, we have a hyperbola that opens left and right. So we would have a hyperbola that looks like this. And it would have asymptotes that run just like so. And so this hyperbola would get really close to these asymptotes but never touch. And then if we have the y term first, it would open up and down, so it would look like so. And we'd have asymptotes that would run just like so. Now what's going to happen with the slopes here is our typical equation is going to be b over a of x. But when you have the hyperbola flopped on its side, you actually get the reciprocal of your initial slope. So all we have to do in either problem is we have to figure out what are the a and b values. So in our case, the equations are always written x squared minus y squared, or x squared over a squared, I should say, minus y squared over b squared equal 1, or they flop the y squared and the x squared. The a and b stay in the same spot. So that means that a squared is equal to 4 in the first equation, and b squared is equal to 49. So when I square root a, I get a is equal to plus and minus 2, and b is equal to plus and minus 7. Now we don't have to worry too much about this whole plus and minus deal. We're just going to look at a and b without the negatives. So we're just going to say that the first equation is y equals 7 over 2x, and the other equation is y equals negative 7 over 2x. And the reason I say we can ignore the negatives is there's only two versions of these two numbers being divided. There's the positive 7 over 2 and the negative 7 over 2. And so we can just kind of ignore that negative piece there when we take the square root. So let's come down to this equation where we get a squared is equal to 36 and b squared is equal to 49. So we get a is equal to 6 plus minus 6, and b is equal to plus and minus 7. So now we're going to use these equations. So we say y is equal to 6 over 7x, and then y is equal to negative 6 over 7x. So these are the asymptotes that are drawn right here in this graph, and these would be the asymptotes that are drawn in this graph. And why would we want to find those? It actually helps us graph the hyperbola much easier and be more accurate, because you can see that when I didn't have the asymptotes there, right, my hyperbola are way off. So if I graph the two lines first, I can make a better graphical representation of the hyperbola.